you can cut these lines quite deep, and when you end you lift it up so you don't have a hard stop. Try to cut as exactly on the lines as you can. Cut all the outer edge. You can cut them quite heavily also. If you feel comfortable with cutting, you can do it free-handed, the straight lines. If not, you just use a ruler, sorry. Same with the pistol. If you feel confident, you can do it free-handed, but I suggest you cut straight lines with a ruler. See? There's a long straight line here, so it's very important that I cut off all of the lines that have to be quite deep and hard now. The scarf here, you cut it deep and light in the ending, so deep, and lift your knife to a thin one, only on the ends, like this. This you can cut deep. Now on the pistol, the iron wear, don't cut this and this so deep, so use a slight pressure here. You see? Not so very deep lines, like this. Finish up the curls a bit. Keep the letters for the last. The coins, you don't need to cut them. We're gonna do this with a model tool. So I cut out the lines here, not too deep. For the screws, you can use a punch. Just press it lightly on the spots where the screws have to be. Okay. Okay, it's also important that you keep your leather on a good humidity. Especially the edges dry out very quick, so wetten them a bit. Now we're gonna bevel the lines of the land, the island, around the coins, also this point of the coin. We're gonna use a checkered beveler for it. Okay, so we did a bit of work on the ornaments so that it looks like it's a bit coming out, just a little bit. Next, I'm going to cut the letters. Now I'm going to cut the inside of the scroll. Carefully. Not completely to the edge. Just a little, leave a little piece. Cut it all through the leather. I'll show you the pack, you see. Cut it all through. Keep your knife flat and cut it in. So I'll cut in this scroll, cut in here a bit and here. Also this one will cut in a piece, not completely to the end. Keep it halfway. And a little bit of the scar. Like that. So cut this in, only this line, and we'll do this one, this one, this one, the bottom, this one, and remember, finish before you come to the edge. Don't cut it all the way to the edge. Same with this one, cut it until here, not completely to the edge. Same here. Okay, I cut out all the scrolls, as you can see on the back side, and here, here. So now you can push them up. You can use it with your spoon. You put your fingers beside it and you push it up. And that's how you all do them. Also with the pistol, you can see on the back the contour. So you put your fingers on the front, on both sides of the pistol, and you just push it up. Here I do it with my finger, but you can use a model tool or whatever you feel up to, like that. So you work it up high. You can see it coming up now a bit. It's gonna have more depth in it. Okay, so I cut all the scrolls. As you can see, they're really deep and high now. You have to model them. Make a scroll. I push the gun out. Made the scrolls come up here, here, and this one, the little ones. So that's the scrolls. Okay, I'm gonna make some leather putty for the inside of the scrolls and the pistol. You have to mix this glue and leather dust until it looks like peanut butter. On the inside, where the dust has to be, you also put glue. And all the scrolls. You put the glue everywhere. Okay, I let the glue dry and put a second layer on it. And now I'm gonna put some leather dust into the plugs. Tap it softly. Don't go too high. Like this. And the other plugs. Put it all the way up to the hole. You can always push it back on the other side with your model tool. Okay. Work it out like this. Okay, so I put all the leather stuff in the plugs. You turn it over and you push it a bit flat around the plugs. Like that. And you can see it's all filled now. You can look into the plug, and when it comes out a bit too much, you push it gently a bit backwards so it's not visible anymore. There you go. Okay, next. An extra tip for making the loose flaps more steady. You can wetten them a bit and then take a hair phone and phone them quite hot. That will harden them. Now we're gonna look at the map and make some extra marks on it. Finish it up a bit. Scratch a few rings in it. Like that, just the way what you want. Put a bit more depth in. Just look up overall the map and adjust it a bit. smoothen out the bevel lines so you don't see it so much. You see the difference here? To make it smoother, here it's still here, so you do that everywhere. Okay, after the work is dry, we're gonna put the gold and silver paint on the leather. I use Createx or Arrow Color. Shake the bottles well before you use them. I use a sable hair number 5 brush, or you can use a good synthetic brush, as long as it also has a nice point on it for the fine and detailed work. Be careful not to paint over the lines, so be very secure with it. And paint the parts, covering it well. If it doesn't cover right, paint it 2 times. So paint all the parts that has to be gold, like this one and this one. This one, we're gonna do that first. Okay, now comes the fun part. I take antique stain, a piece of sheepskin, a few pieces of cloth, paper, and a wet sponge. I apply the antique finish on sheep wool and then rub everything in with circular motions. Be sure it gets everywhere. Especially into the lines. Don't worry about the scrolls, the inside. We can do that later with the brush. Okay. That should do it. Then you take the cloth and you carefully wipe off a bit. It don't need to be perfect because it's going to be an old map. Then you take the sponge and you also go over it with circular motions. Okay, after the sponsing is done, we do the little corners what we couldn't reach by sponge, we do with a brush inside the scroll. To make some spots on the map to make it look more old, I apply some water drops. You leave it there for a little while so it absorbs the paint a bit, the antique stain, and then you wipe it away and you get all kind of stains. Next we paint the letters with dark brown, with Angelus, also an acrylic paint. Do it very good inside the lines. So I cut the map out, the contours, the outer side. If you want to let it appear as it seems paper thin, then you skive the back, the edges with a knife. It could be a scalpel knife or another sharp knife or a skiving knife, just what you have and what you want to use to do it. You skive the edges very thin, almost like paper-wise, and you go around the edges. Only if you choose to make it thin, and you only do the edges. To create a little bit more dark outside on the map, you can use an airbrush. You just thin the antique finish with water. If you don't have an airbrush, an alternative way to darken the edges is same with the sheep wool. Not too much on it, and you just stamp it a bit around the edges like this. And if you think it's too much on the outside, you do it with a dry cloth like this, and so you get a little bit antique edge. So you can achieve a sort of airbrush effect by hand. After this you take some edge paint and paint the edges dark. Gonna apply some edge coat now on the back. On the sides, sorry. Edge coats on the sides. Or use a brush if you can't get into the points, into the holes. If you're all satisfied with the result, the last thing we do is put a sealer on it. I use Resolin and a wet sponge, not soaky wet, just dampen. You apply the Resolin. And you go over it in one stroke. That's it.